Welcome back to Be Fluent in Russian podcast. My name is Fedor. Gurov, Chekhov, Dama с собачкой, part 4. Let's continue where we left off. And we finished on Gurov's kind of thoughts on that his secret life was very true to him, and his public life was very fake to him. And Anna Sergeevna comes to him regularly to Moscow. He visits her. Nobody knows about it. And let's see where this will go, how this will unfold, because this is the part 4, last part. Let's see where it takes us. Проводив дочь в гимназию, Gurov отправился в Slavyansky Bazaar. After seeing his daughter off to school or gymnasium, Gurov went to the Slavyansky Bazaar. That's the place where Анна Сергеевна, his lover, is staying. Он снял шубу внизу, поднялся наверх и тихо постучал в дверь. He left his fur coat downstairs. Shuba is fur coat. These days, shubas are only worn by ladies because it's more like that posh looking, fur coat. But back in his day, probably, I'm thinking, there wasn't any good technology for warm clothing, and so shuba was worn by anybody just for warmth purposes. Went upstairs and knocked quietly on the door. So снял, took off, to take something off, like your clothing. Поднялся, got up. Поднялся наверх means he went up upstairs. Because подняться by itself means to get raised, and наверх means to the top. So he went upstairs. Постучал means he knocked. Анна Сергеевна, одетая в его любимое серое платье, утомленная дорогой и ожиданием, поджидала его со вчерашнего вечера. Она была бледна, глядела на него и не улыбалась. И он едва вошел, как она уже припала к его груди. Anna Sergeevna, dressed in his favorite gray dress, not her favorite gray dress, but his favorite dress, exhausted from her journey and waiting for him since the previous evening, opened the door. She was pale, looking at him without smiling, and as soon as he entered, she fell into his arms, as if they hadn't seen each other in years. Sorry, that last part, as if they hadn't seen each other in years, is the next sentence, but for some reason it got translated with this one. So let me just go like that so I can know what the translations are. Okay, so she fell into his arms. So let's break this sentence down. Anna Sergeevna, person, right? Одетая, dressed up. Одетая в, dressed up in. Его любимое, his favorite, серое платье, gray dress. Утомленная, exhausted. Поджидала его, was waiting for him, со вчерашнего вечера, from the yesterday's evening. So it's already the morning, and she was waiting for him since the last evening. And if you are an adult, maybe 23 and up, you know that if you don't sleep well at night, or maybe you sleep restlessly, expecting somebody to come, you don't get enough sleep, really, right? You don't get recovered. You just kind of are in those days and you don't feel good and your head hurts probably. So that's the state that she was in. Она была бледна, she was pale. Глядела на него, looked at him, и не улыбалась, and didn't smile. И он едва вошел, and he just, as soon as he entered, как она уже припала, that's when she fell к его груди, to his chest, or into his arms. Точно они не виделись года два. Поцелуй их был долгий, длительный, as if they hadn't seen each other in years, or года два, for about 2 years. Their kiss was long and deep. Now, длительный, долгий and длительный, long and really длительный means for a long time too. So long and deep, maybe it's not a good translation, maybe just kind of long and long. So yeah. Ну, как живешь там? Спросил он. Что нового? How are things over there? He asked. What's new? Погоди, сейчас скажу. Не могу. Wait, I'll tell you. I can't right now, or I can't. Она не могла говорить, так как плакала. She couldn't sleep because... Sorry, she couldn't speak because she was crying. Отвернулась от него и прижала платок к глазам. She turned away from him and pressing the handkerchief to her eyes. So, погоди, wait up, hold on. Сейчас скажу, I'll tell you in a second. Не могу, I can't. Она не могла говорить, I can't talk, she couldn't talk. Так как, because, or since, плакала, because she was crying. Ну, пускай поплачет, а я пока посижу, подумал он и сел в кресло. Let her cry for now. Well, let her cry. Meanwhile, I'll just sit here, he thought, and sat in the armchair. Пускай поплачет. Let her cry. Потом он позвонил и сказал, чтобы ему принесли чаю. И потом, когда он пил, она все стояла, отвернувшись к окну. He called for tea. He called and said for them to bring him tea. And then, as he was drinking tea, she was still standing there, turned away to the window. So he called to the downstairs, right? Maybe like the where you check in for, into your room. They brought him tea. So he called, talked, they made tea for him, brought it up to him. He drank. So imagine how much time has passed. They still are not talking. She's still crying. Right? Она плакала от волнения, от скорбного сознания, что их жизнь так печально сложилась. Они видятся только тайно, скрываются от людей, как воры. Разве их жизнь не разбита? She was overwhelmed with emotion, and she was crying because of emotion and because of nervousness, from saddened realization that their life had become so sad and so bleak. They see each other only in secret. They hide from people like thieves. Isn't their life shattered? This is a question that Chekhov asks, not the characters. Ну перестань, сказал он. Well, come on, or enough, stop it, he said. Для него было очевидно, что эта их любовь кончится еще не скоро, неизвестно когда. For him it was obvious, для него, for him, было очевидно, it was obvious, that this love of theirs will not end soon. Эта их любовь, this love of theirs, this their love, кончится means will end. Неизвестно когда. God knows when. Неизвестно когда, unknowingly when it will end. Анна Сергеевна привязывалась к нему все сильнее, обожала его. И было бы немыслимо сказать ей, что все это должно же иметь когда-нибудь конец. Да она бы и не поверила ему. Anna Sergeyevna was getting attached to him even more, or more and more. Обожала его, adored him, loved him. Like, обожать is a bit above love. Really adore somebody. To love somebody deeply. И было бы немыслимо сказать ей, it would be impossible or senseless to tell her that all this has to end, or has to have an end at some point. Все это, all of this, должно иметь конец. Has to have an end. Да она бы и не поверила ему. And she wouldn't even believe him anyway. Okay? So, She's sad and he's not really sad. Okay, maybe a few more lines here. Okay. Он подошел к ней и взял ее за плечи, чтобы приласкать, пошутить, и в это время увидел себя в зеркале. He walked over to her, took her by her shoulders, to caress her, to comfort her, to make a joke, пошутить, to make a joke, and at that time saw himself in the mirror. So он подошел к ней, he came up to her, взял за плечи, took her by her shoulders, чтобы приласкать, in order to, with the goal of something. Пошутить, to make a joke. Голова его уже начинала сидеть. His head was already turning gray. His head, we don't say, my hair is turning gray. We can, but we can also say, my head is turning gray. Голова начинала сидеть. The head became graying, or started to become gray. И ему показалось странным, что он так постарел за последние годы. Так подурнел. And it seemed strange to him that he aged so much in the last few years. And not only aged, but became worse. Подурнел means not just to age, because you can age gracefully, but you can also age not gracefully, become uglier. Ему показалось странным. Something appeared to him strange. Что он так постарел, that he aged so much. Плечи, на которых лежали его руки, были теплы и вздрагивали. The shoulders on which his hands were laying were warm and trembling. Он почувствовал сострадание к этой жизни, еще такой теплой и красивой, но, вероятно, уже близкой к тому, чтобы начать блекнуть и вянуть, как его жизнь. He felt sympathy for this life, for her life, it means. Еще такой теплой и красивой, still so warm and beautiful, but probably is already so close to becoming to start to become bleak and to wither like his life. So this is hard to translate really word to word because of different structures, but let's translate more literally and maybe take pauses here. Он почувствовал сострадание к этой жизни. He felt sympathy for this life. Еще такой теплой, still so warm и красивой and beautiful. Но, but, вероятно, probably, уже близкой к тому, already close to, чтобы начать, to start, блекнуть и вянуть, to become bleak and to wither. Как его жизнь. Like his life. Okay, let me see how much we have left. Oh, yeah. We're gonna finish this right here and then finish the rest of this chapter next time because we only have like one page of the text. So, this whole chapter, if I go actually down, I see that only like a few lines from the characters. The rest is just Chekhov's text. Interesting. But let's read this whole part all at once, just for some extra listening practice, so it can become one whole text versus just like broken apart lines of it. Проводив дочь в гимназию, Гуров отправился в Славянский базар. Он снял шубу внизу, поднялся наверх и тихо постучал в дверь. Анна Сергеевна, одета в его любимое серое платье, утомленная дорогой и ожиданием, поджидала его со вчерашнего вечера. Она была бледна, глядела на него и не улыбалась. И едва он вошел, как она уже припала к его груди. Точно они не виделись года 2. Поцелуй их был долгий, длительный. «Ну, как живешь там?» — спросил он. «Что нового?» Погоди. Сейчас скажу. Не могу. Она не могла говорить, так как плакала. Отвернулась от него и прижала платок к глазам. «Ну, пускай поплачет, а я пока посижу», — подумал он и сел в кресло. Потом он позвонил и сказал, чтобы ему принесли чаю. И потом, когда пил чай, она все стояла, отвернувшись к окну. Она плакала от волнения, от скорбного сознания, что их жизнь так печально сложилась. Они видятся только тайно, скрываются от людей, как воры. Разве жизнь их не разбита? «Ну, перестань», — сказал он. Для него было очевидно, что эта их любовь кончится еще не скоро, неизвестно когда. Анна Сергеевна привязывалась к нему все сильнее, обожала его, и было бы немыслимо сказать ей, что все это должно же иметь когда-нибудь конец. Да она бы и не поверила этому. Он подошел к ней и взял ее за плечи, чтобы приласкать, пошутить. И в это время увидел себя в зеркале. Голова его уже начинала сидеть, и ему показалось странным, что он так постарел за последние годы, так подурнел. Плечи, на которых лежали его руки, были теплы и вздрагивали. Он почувствовал сострадание к этой жизни, еще такой теплой и красивой, но, вероятно, уже близкой к тому, чтобы начать блекнуть и вянуть, как его жизнь. How sad is this, huh? How sad is this? He is an old man caressing this young girl's shoulders, but they both are growing older and they won't find happiness. Because they both have spouses, they cannot leave them. Probably they could leave them, but that's more like in a romantic movie, that they'll leave their significant others who they're unhappy with and go after this love of theirs. But we all know from reality that rarely happens. And most likely they're gonna just simply go back to their old ways. A lot of Russian literature, a lot of Russian movies, Soviet movies, are just like that. It's like they are depicting reality. They are not depicting fiction. And a lot of the times in reality, things go back to the way they've always been. No romantic thoughts and no romantic outcomes. It's going to probably be the same always and always and always. Sad. Well, that is all. Hope you've enjoyed this, and we're going to finish this one next week to see where this story ends. But for now, study up with Be Fluent, learn to speak Russian better with a ton of resources. If you're struggling with something, we can help you out there for sure. See you all there, and see you guys next time with the next podcast. Пока-пока.